How did George Lucas avoid sharing rights of Star Wars? How did the filmmakers solve the height difference between Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford? Why did the filmmakers choose to freeze the character of Han Solo in carbonite? These and many more questions will be answered on this episode of
Back Look Cinema, the podcast.
Size matters not. Look at me. Judge me by size, do you? And where you should not. For my ally is the Force. And a powerful ally it is. Life creates it. Makes it grow. Its energy surrounds us, binds us. Luminous beings are we, not this crude matter. You must feel the Force around you, between you, me, the tree, the rock, everywhere, yes. Even between the land and the ship.
Hello, friends. My name is Zoe. It's spelled Z-O or Z to the O for those of you outside of the U.S. Welcome back. This is the 203rd episode of Backlook Cinema, the podcast, where we take a look back at the movies of yesteryear, especially the movies of the latter half of the last millennium. If you like what you're about to hear, then please tell your family, tell your friends, and tell, like, that suave adventurer, that amazing princess, and that dastardly scoundrel about Backlook Cinema, the podcast. And I'm excited to announce that I'm welcoming back a guest from the deep, deep past, a woman that I have enjoyed sharing the screen with, a woman who has tolerated me, and thus I tolerate her. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for my very special guest, Jenn from my streaming bubble. How are you doing, Jenn?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me back on. It's been a minute, but I'm very excited. And when you messaged me about what we were talking about today, I was like, oh yes. So, and I got to say, awesome Yoda. Loved it. Good job. And congrats on 203 episodes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I thought that for my 200th episode that I would, what was the thing I'm trying to say? For my 200th episode, I would talk about my favorite movie. And my favorite movie is Star Wars. And it's an easy answer. I don't like to talk about my favorite things because I'm always waffling up and down the scale. Like, what's my favorite TV show? It could be anything. It's like whatever I'm watching at the moment could be my favorite thing. Or what's my favorite thing to eat? That could change by the week. But the one thing I never waffled on is, like, I can confidently say that Star Wars is my favorite movie. And so for my 200 episode, I felt like I was ready to talk about it. And given that I'm talking about that, I can also talk about the rest of the movies, at least the ones that came out when I was growing up, because those are the ones that are the most important to me. Not that I dislike the other movies, but these are the ones that I hold in high esteem. And given that Star Wars, and when I'm talking about Star Wars, I'm talking about Episode 4, A New Hope. I also recognize that the second movie, The Empire Strikes Back, is the better film. So that was like everything about Empire is better than Star Wars. And I recognize that. So how do you feel about the first movies that came out starting in the 1970s?
So with the New Hope, I like it. It's great. It sets it all up. I like how we just kind of more or less are dropped into this world and everything. But I have to say that Empire, I agree, is the stronger film out of the original trilogy set. In my personal opinion, I love it. I think there's a lot going on, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I feel like there's a lot of like action, and it does a lot of great stuff to kind of set everything up, especially for the last part of the trilogy. But I just think that there's a lot that's kind of revealed. We're introduced to Yoda, and it's just better. It's the best sequel to have ever sequeled, in my opinion. So it sets the bar pretty high for sequels.
Yeah. Especially, well, there are some sequels that are better because the first film was just bad. But
Fair enough. Yeah.
this is a sequel coming off of a fairly decent film, a very popular film. And I have heard other people talk about Star Wars: A New Hope, and like there was this one podcast I was listening to, and they were watching Star Wars for the first time, and they were fairly young people, and they watched it, and they was talking about how dull it was and how slow it was, and it was like, I was surprised to hear them say that. But then I realized that storytelling techniques are different now than they were back when we were growing up. So a lot of the stuff nowadays is paced a little bit faster. And in the 1970s, I noticed that they allow the movie or the story to breathe a little bit. There, you have quiet, where you have, I don't know, a lot more deliberate quiet moments, I think, back in the 1970s. Because I noticed that about when I talked about Planet of the Apes, the original one, or when I look at 2001, even though the same reason that people hate Star Wars is the same reason I hate 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's like I think 2001: A Space Odyssey takes it too far. Like, it's too slow. How dare you waste my time with this? But at the same time, I've recognized that 2001: A Space Odyssey, they didn't have a lot of space dramas. So they were really showing you what it would be like to live in outer space. I think the director, what's his name? Stanley Kubrick. And I think Arthur C. Clarke, he was the author of the novel. They were actually creating that movie at the same time. So they really wanted to emphasize what it's really like to be out in space. So that was the deal with that movie. But I didn't have that problem with Star Wars when I was watching it. And The Empire Strikes Back, one of the reasons it's better is that it picks up the pace just a little bit. I think everything is deliberate. All of my scenes are my favorite scenes. It's like it just goes from one scene and it just like carries right along. It's so well paced. And I think of all the movies that I've watched, I've seen it probably the most. I've seen this a bunch of times. Have you seen it?
It's been a while since I've watched like the original trilogy, but I usually start with Empire when I do. But it's been a minute. I think the last Star Wars thing that we watched when we finished Andor, and I had to go right into Rogue One for obvious reasons.
Right.
And outside of the Skywalker saga of all 9 movies, Rogue One is my favorite, like standalone, you want to call it, Star Wars film. I love it so much. And as we'll probably discuss, I'm a sucker for a downer ending every once in a while. So
yeah. I agree.
Empire kind of helps scratch that itch too.
Right. I agree wholeheartedly. And as we'll find out when we talk about what the critics thought of this movie, that was one of the things that they had a problem with. It's like they had a problem with either the downer ending or the concept of that cliffhanger. I'm like, guys, it happens sometimes. Sometimes you do it. Sometimes you have a downer. It's called, I mean, if Empire was the last Star Wars movie, then basically it would be a tragedy. And it was
that would be crushing.
And that's something that audiences really at least modern audiences, they don't really come to grips with a story being a tragedy. Although I will have to say that Rogue One actually works, right, as a tragedy, because everybody dies at the end. Spoiler alert. So it's
but like
it's there wasn't like a backlash to it being a tragedy. It kind of like answered the questions like what happened to all of these characters, right? And like now you know. And then there was a confusion that I had, like they were stealing the Death Star plans, and I'm thinking, what happened to the Bothans? And I was actually confusing Return of the Jedi with the original Star Wars. In the original Star Wars, we don't actually know how the rebels got the plan. But in in Return of the Jedi, that's when they say the Bothans stole the plans. They stole the plans for the Death Star too. I was like, oh, I'm good now. So what's going on with my streaming bubble?
Well, let's see. I just celebrated the 6th podiversary. So it's been 6 years that I fired up some microphones and Audacity and thought, why the hell not? I know what I'm doing. But it's been a great journey. I loved it. And because of the podcast, I got to meet a lot of wonderful people, Yuzo included. And I'm ever so grateful for all the opportunities that it has brought me and just the fun that I've had with it. So the work, yes, as well, editing, boo. But all in all, I've enjoyed having a podcast a lot. And so I been doing it 6 years. October, did my very first theme month where I covered found footage films for fall because, yay, alliteration. And I love found footage films. It's I don't want to say it's like a guilty pleasure because I don't feel guilty for enjoying it, but I figured why not attempt my first theme month. So those are all out right now. But other than that, just kind of the usual for podcasts, just scheduling episodes, getting recordings done, and trying to squeeze in editing between family life. For some reason, October is like one of our busiest months for our family. Weekends, everything just fills up so fast. So
Right.
just finding, just as usual, juggling that balance, trying to find that balance, but trying to stay positive and as much as I can throughout all of that. So
That sounds
that's a long
awesome.
way to say, like, it's good.
And I hear tell that you're going to be focusing a little bit more on movies.
Yes. So again, because of the whole time juggle and everything, I want to focus more on movies because when I first started, it was TV shows because that's whatever I was watching, but for time-wise, pod prep for not just myself, but for tolerables to make sure we have time to get through it. And the scheduling can be a bit much. And then finding the time to edit all of that can be a bit much as well. So I'm like, well, movies will kind of like shows are still on the table, but I do want to put more focus and emphasis on movies to help maintain sanity levels for everyone.
Awesome. So will that include like TV movies as well as theatrical movies? Because
absolutely,
actually the lines are really blurring between what's a TV movie and what's a theatrical release. I just saw a trailer that I thought it was streaming because it's by Amazon Studios. I was like, well, sure, this is going to be on Amazon Prime. But I forget that they had just bought a studio. So it's like whatever they decide. And that movie that they're doing is called Crime 101. And it stars Halle Berry and Chris Hemsworth and Mark Ruffalo, among others. Okay. And it turns out it's going to be in theaters that they have to emphasize now when you watch a trailer. They have to make sure that you know whether or not it's in theaters or something that they're going to stream. And then a lot of the streaming movies, they look like theatrical releases. So it's definitely blurred now.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. So for my show, it's mostly anything streamable. So because it's my streaming bubble. And so I just kind of wanted to maintain at least that little part of it because the intro was always like talking about the shows I love with people I tolerate. I've tweaked it a little just to say streamable media. So that includes anything and everything on streaming. TV series, made for TV movies, limited series, documentaries. I've done a couple of documentaries in the past. But pretty much if I can watch it through my TV, then yes, we'll cover it. If I can watch it through my TV, but I have to pay for it, then I'm going to get it from the library because I pay enough for streaming. I'm not paying a rental fee on top of that.
Right.
But yeah, that's more or less the concept. Yep.
I definitely need to investigate that more because it is getting expensive out here. Also, that allows you to do stuff like TikTok and Facebook and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yep. So, but yeah.
No, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, like, yes, you definitely need to go down to your local library and check out their DVD collection. And then also there's Canopy, which is streaming television and movies and documentaries free with your library card. Okay, library plug over.
Excellent. I love that. So let's go on to the next segment where we're going to go to the opening credits of The Empire Strikes Back from 1980. The adventure continues. The destruction of the Death Star battle station is not the end of the adventures of Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, Han Solo, and his Wookiee companion, Chewbacca. Darth Vader survived and is once again on the hunt for the rebels, using thousands of probes and his own intuitive connection to the dark side of the Force. Since his humiliating loss at Yavin 4, Darth Vader has learned an incredible secret, and unbeknownst to his officers, it is this secret that drives him more than anything else. Now that he is in supreme command of the entire Imperial military, he will use the vast powers at his command to exploit this secret to achieve his ultimate goals. This movie was released June 18th, 1980, produced by Lucasfilm. It grossed over $292 million in the US and Canada and over $550 million worldwide on a reported budget of $18 million. Now, would you like to hazard a guess at what a gross of $292 million would be in today's dollars, considering inflation, which is, as I've learned today, at 3%?
Well, I'm terrible at math, so I don't think I will get
Me
but I'm guessing
too,
a lot.
which is why I have a cheat sheet. That would be $1.1 billion. That's just the US and Canada. That's amazing. If it were released today, it would have been $1 billion movie, which is crazy why they didn't release a sequel like right away. They actually waited like 6 or 7 years to release another sequel. And that one that would be what you call it, The Return of the Jedi. Actually, they didn't wait that long, but still, it felt like a long time when I was a child.
Yeah.
Also, and then it's weird that it didn't, and the Return of the Jedi didn't have a sequel, and that's crazy. At least not until like the modern era, but it seems crazy that they didn't release a sequel like right away. Also, the worldwide gross, had it been released today, would have been $2.1 billion. And the budget was, adjusting for inflation, $70 million. So $70 million to get $2.1 billion is outstanding.
Yeah. That is amazing. Wow.
Right. I don't know if I have it in the trivia, but Alec Guinness was paid on the gross of this movie. He wasn't paid a salary. He was paid, I think, something like 0.4% of the gross or something like that. Or no.
Oh, wow.
I think it's zero. I think it's 0.04. I'm sorry. I think it's 0.04% of the gross, which for him would be a butt ton of money. That's money that he could retire off of.
Wow. That's amazing.
I don't know what everybody else got.
Come on, Zoe. No.
So there are a lot of amazing stars in this movie. If you want to learn more about many of the projects that these stars are in, I encourage you to go back and listen to the Star Wars episode 200. But for most of these actors, we're just going to like rattle off the characters they played. And I'm going to pause on the new characters that were introduced in this film. So start us off, Jen.
All right. So the movie stars Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker.
It has Harrison Ford as Han Solo.
Miss Carrie Fisher as the Princess Leia Organa.
Billy D. Williams as Lando Calrissian. And here I'll take a pause because this is a new character. And Billy D. Williams has also been in Batman. He's been in a TV movie called Brian's Song that I covered on this podcast because I didn't realize it was a TV movie. And that episode is 91. And it also features Jose and Justin from Watch Skip Plus. If you're into brand new movies and you want to know whether or not you should watch that movie or skip that movie, you should listen to Watch Skip Plus, in a great podcast. Brian's Song was a great movie and Billy D was great in it. Also, he was in Lady Sings the Blues, which I originally knew him from. I never saw that movie, but I remember people in my family were always raving over it. And then he was in the movie Nighthawks, with a Sylvester Stallone movie. So I got to ask you a question. Do you know what the D is in Billy D. Williams. And just for our listeners, the D is not the letter D, but D-E-E. It's one of my favorite trivia facts about Billy D. Williams.
Ooh, I do not.
Billy D. Williams, for real government name is William December Williams.
What? No. I kind of love it. I love that. What? Oh, I love fun facts.
The fact that his middle name is December it drives me wild every single time.
I wonder why. Was he born in December? Did they just really like the month?
I'm guessing.
Or like how that
I didn't do
sounds?
any investigation as to why his name is December, but there it is.
I love it.
Me too.
That's so cool. That's so cool.
What's the next actor? Or who's the next actor?
Yeah, we have Anthony Daniels as C-3PO.
We have David Prowse as Darth Vader with James Earl Jones as Darth Vader's voice.
We have Peter Mayhew as Chewbacca.
And Kenny Baker as R2-D2.
And then good old Frank Oz as the voice of Yoda. And then a lot of people might know Frank Oz from his ties with The Muppet Show and Sesame Street. So it's so hard to hear Yoda and not hear a little bit of Miss Piggy every once in a while, and vice versa. So
yeah, absolutely.
For me.
Absolutely. It basically is the same voice, just carried a little bit differently.
Yep.
Also, we have Alec Guinness. He plays Ben Obi-Wan Kenobi.
And Jeremy Bulloch as Boba Fett. And Jason Wingreen voice performances was replaced by Tamiru Morrison in the special edition. Hopefully I pronounced those correctly. I didn't get a chance to double check my pronunciation.
Nope, sounds good to me.
Yes. And other credits include Octopussy, The Littlest Horse Thieves, and Mary, Queen of Scots from 1971.
Yeah, it's funny, right? Because I included him because Boba Fett is a fan favorite, even though many of the generals in the Imperial Fleet actually had a lot more screen time and lines and more dramatic deaths, but I decided to leave them out. This movie was directed by Irvin Kershner, and he's also directed movies like Never Say Never Again, RoboCop 2, The Luck of Ginger Coffee, The Return of the Man Called Horse, and The Flim Flam Man. He was mostly active in the 1960s, so most of these movies I am not familiar with. I am familiar with RoboCop 2. That was his last theatrical direction because that was not a good movie. Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit.
God, especially compared to like the first one. Yeah.
There's nothing that compares to the first RoboCop. And the only thing that I like as good as the first RoboCop was the remake RoboCop. Like people kind of say like, oh, I hated the RoboCop remake, but it was better than all of the sequels and all of the like the TV movie properties that came out, all of the miniseries. It's better than the cartoon RoboCop that came out. Like everything that they put forward in it to advance the RoboCop, what you call it, to advance the RoboCop identity. Franchise. Yeah. Thank you. That's a better word. None of those were as good as the remake RoboCop.
See, and so on my podcast, my buddy Dozer and we cover originals versus remakes, and we covered RoboCop. So all I will say is I have since calmed down with my feelings on the remake, but I got real loud about that movie when we covered it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I can understand that. Like when you compare it to the original, it's just not going to compare because the thing that the original had going for it was the satirical lens that you look at the world through. That was what the original brought to the table. It's like when you immediately watch it, you immediately know that it's satire, and that's how you enjoy it. And I don't think either the sequels or maybe the sequels do it a little bit, but not as good. And the remake doesn't really get that satirical element. They really tackled it as like a straight up adventure or, you know, an action movie. And I can see why they would do that. It's like, well, we can't really capture that satirical element. So we're going to try to shoot it as a straight action movie, which I respect. But if you compare like RoboCop, the reboot, compared to RoboCop 2 or RoboCop 3, you're like, you know, I would rather not. I would rather not watch the sequels. I would rather just go ahead and watch the remake. At least it's a decent story.
See, and I think I would rather watch the sequels to the original RoboCop. And, you know, and not to say that the remake, and I don't mean to make this about RoboCop, and not to say that the remake is like bad. It's like a fine movie and everything on its own if you're not familiar with the original and depending how you feel about the original. So sometimes the remakes do all right and they can kind of work as their own. I don't want to hesitate to say standalone, but they work. Like he and I just covered The Last House on the Left, original versus remake. And I'll say right now, the remake really isn't, there's a couple of things two big things that I don't care for, but otherwise it works as its own horror movie without needing to see the original. So I think since some time has passed between me and the RoboCop remake, I have, like I said, I've calmed down. I've accepted it for what it is. But boy, was I fucking hot in that dash. He just kept poking it. Oh, I was on one. And he just, and Dozer just kept poking too, because he thought it was hilarious, getting me worked up. But I accept everything that you say, Zoe, about it. And I ain't here to try and change anyone's mind about nothing. So it's just it's my personal feeling. So yeah.
I'm glad you calmed down. Also, just for clarification, you said you would rather watch the RoboCop sequels rather than the hold on. I think because I'm a little bit confused about what you said. You would rather watch the RoboCop sequels rather than the original, or were you saying you would rather watch the sequels rather than the RoboCop remake?
Sequels over the remake.
Okay. All right, cool. I'm glad we got that straightened out.
Yeah. No. I mean, the original always,
right.
No problem. So we're good there.
I just wanted to make sure because I was listening. I was like, well, that don't sound right. Let me circle back to that.
No worries. No. And maybe I said it weird. I don't know. It's still early for me on a Sunday. So I'm still drinking my coffee and putting words and thoughts together. So
also one more thing. Speaking of remakes, or sequels or new adaptations, I like to throw new adaptations in there because people, it's funny, right? Because when people talk about The Wizard of Oz, if they were to make a Wizard of Oz movie, they wouldn't call it a remake. But I think that's stuck in a lot of people's minds. But anyways, this is a new adaptation that's about to come out for The Running Man. Do you think you're going to watch that one?
I could probably watch it, especially if it's for pod prep. I'm all for. I really enjoy doing the original versus remakes. And so if it's, I can definitely add it to the list. I know you expressed some interest, so we could definitely cover that sometime when that comes out.
Also, because what I hear is that it's closer to the books. So it'll be interesting to see how they tackle that.
Yeah. And to be fair, a lot of the ones that may be based on books, chances are I haven't read the book, so I don't do a lot of the comparison to the screen version to source material. But I'm always happy to have people on that are familiar with the source material, and they can provide their kind of compare and contrasts and fill me in on that kind of stuff. So if you're familiar with the book, obviously, then you've got to be on, and we've obviously got to talk about it. So
right. So moving right along, why don't you tell us about the writers of this movie?
All right. So it was Empire was written by Lee Brackett, Lawrence Kasdan, and George Lucas. Brackett has writing credits for The Big Sleep, The Long Goodbye, Rio Bravo, Hatari, and El Dorado. Kasdan has writing credits for The Big Chill, Silverado, Wyatt Earp, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and Mumford. And Lucas, well, he's the creator of all things Star Wars and Indiana Jones.
Excellent. And obviously we have the composer John Williams. If you are curious about the credits of one of the most prolific composers of all times, then I encourage you to listen to the previous Star Wars episode or many of my previous episodes where the composer is John Williams. He has given us so much music. It's so thrilling and fantastic. And his music is so instrumental to a lot of the franchises that we watch today that a lot of times his music is incorporated into the remakes of some of the previous movies. It's because his music is that profound. It's like it's that important. We are blessed by the music that he has given us. And then he continues to shock us with like some compositions that, like, just when you think that the Empire, well, what's it called? The Imperial March from The Empire Strikes Back. Just when you thought that was your favorite John Williams Star Wars composition, then he comes out with the Revenge of the Sith scenes, the Revenge of the Sith, the fight scenes. What was that called? I forgot what they call it, but it's a fight scene with when they have Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi versus Darth Maul.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that one with the chorus going on. For some reason, the name of that composition has slipped my mind, but I think that's my favorite over over the Imperial March. I really enjoy that one. Duel of the Fates, that's what it's called. Duel of the Fates is outstanding. So
he's amazing.
That's it for the
he
opening.
does amazing work.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it for the opening credits. And I don't have much announcements except for asking my friends and neighbors to check out backlinkcinema.com/shop. I'm actually wearing one of my shirts now, and Jen can see it, but you can't see it. It's All Gods Matter.
I love it. Very cool.
And Jen, do you have anything more that you wanted to promote?
You can just follow the podcast wherever you get your podcasts from. My streaming bubble can be found on all the socials, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, TikTok, YouTube. And then I also have a Redbubble store, so you can just pop on over there and give a search, and I'll be there. I am not wearing any podcast merch, but it's my lazy day, so I've just got a nice, comfy, cozy sweatshirt on. But and then there's also a monthly podcast that I co-host with Aaron from It's a Fandom Thing podcast. It's called Twin It to Win It, and every month we watch horror movies and try to guess how the other one feels about it. It's kind of like our For Funsies podcast. It's very chill, very laid back, can be slightly unhinged, but it's all around a good time. And
Awesome.
you can find that on all podcast players.
I have not listened to that yet. I will make a note to.
Yay!
And now that we've had our little promo, let's go to our favorite parts. Now, this is one of those movies, like lately in the past few episodes, I've been trying to find the theme of some of these movies. And I have struggled with this one. Would you hazard would you provide a thought to what you think the theme or themes of this movie might be?
Oh. Okay, let me try and think, because I don't know that I gave it a whole heck of a lot of thought when I was doing my pod prep last night, but it was a busy day, so my brain was just ready to clock in some Star Wars, and that was about it. I'm surprised I have the notes that I have. But if I were to say themes, let's see. Well, there's the universal theme of friendship, because Han, in the beginning, he's about to leave, but then he's got to go save Luke. And then halfway through the film or so, Luke is doing his training, but then he has the vision that Han and Leia are in trouble. So then he has to go because they're his friends. So both of these characters put aside their own, quote, like selfish needs and kind of the things that they should be doing, do the things to help the people that are closest to them, that mean the most to them. So as always, the power of friendship is always a universal theme. Maybe perhaps how friendship can be stronger than family. At times, our found family is more important to us and we care more about them than our actual biological families, even if we just find out that they are a biological family member. That can be very conflicting.
I like that.
How's that?
I
That's
had
not
not
bad for just off the top of my
right. I had not thought of, especially the last part, is that your found family can sometimes be more important than your natural biological family. And that's absolutely true in the case of this movie. Luke's biological family is trash.
Yeah.
At least a portion of it. And then there's what I came up with is have faith in your friends. Like believe that they're going to do what they said they're going to do, that they can accomplish the things that they're meant to accomplish. That was the best I could come up with. Because this is such an adventure film, and it doesn't seem like there's either a hidden message or a stronger message, but there are themes of like having faith in the Force or believing in your own on your own strength, I guess, or believe in yourself, like like in The Wiz, believe in yourself right from the start.
Yeah. Oh, nice tie-in.
Right.
And that's so true because even though Ben and Yoda are telling Luke, like, no, you can't do this, you're not ready, that Luke doesn't care. His connection to his friends is that strong that whether or not he realizes he believes in himself that much, he clearly does, to be like, you know what? No, I've got to go do this. So he's got enough belief in himself, in his abilities to be like, no, I can't just sit here and have these two old dudes telling me what I can and can't be doing right now because I got to go save my friends and I'm going to do it one way or another. I've got to try. So that all ties in. I like that.
Right. Absolutely. And also, this is kind of aside, but I kind of like how this story kind of ties into, or the way that this story ties into the prequels. So there were some portions of the prequel movies where Yoda seems kind of like cold busted. Like he seems more like a military general, like a kind of, not necessarily a kill 'em all mentality, but he doesn't have a problem with unleashing some justice on some fools. So you see a little bit of that in this movie where Luke wants to go and rescue his friends. And he asks, do I just let them die? And Yoda says, yes. Yeah. in so many words.
Pretty much. Yeah.
It's more important for you to stay here and finish your training. And if your friends have to die, then, they might just have to die. He was a little bit cold in that.
A little bit, but I love how we're first introduced to Yoda. He's just such a freaking menace and just like this little ball of chaos. But I do love that gradually we kind of get more of that kind of more wise sage like Yoda that I think we've now have kind of come to perhaps perceive him more as or as like militaristic or whatever. But I love that first introduction of him just being chaos. I love it so much. Like clearly being alone has not done well for his mental health.
That was definitely one of my favorite parts of the movie as well. It was the thing about the introduction is like seeing it for the first time in theaters. I remember our father took us to see the movie. It was one of those theaters where they had like a curtain over the screen and then the curtain opens up. And you see the scroll, the girl, and the audience cheer for the scroll. And I think the first person you see is Luke Skywalker on the screen. The audience cheered for Luke Skywalker, and they showed Han Solo. It's like every time they showed another character, the audience was clapping like this was a live performance. We were all so excited. And so when Yoda appears on the screen, we were all totally fooled. It's just a little creature at first, being a nuisance, like fighting with R2-D2, being cantankerous, you stealing stuff.
Cantankerous. I love it. Great word. Great usage.
I mean,
Perfect.
he just I love that part, being a nuisance and just hiding who he was. And then when you find out that he was Yoda, we're all super shocked. It was like the people don't talk enough about that transformation. Like when most people talk about the twist in the movie, they talk about the Darth Vader twist, but they don't really talk enough about the twist that the little creature that Luke runs into is the Yoda that he was looking for. And that was a fantastic. It was like a master stroke. It was great. And then to have the other twist at the end of the movie was also fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very, very twisty. So, and I'd have to say that within the Yoda scene too, one of my other favorites, my favorite line, it's right before his, like there is no, you do or do not, there is no try. Right before he says that, he tells Luke that you must unlearn what you've learned. And I just think that that is just as important, if not more important than the try or do not try, or, because
Right.
before you can even attempt to maybe try or not try, sometimes you do have to unlearn everything. You have to remove those blocks, those barriers for whatever reason that you have for whatever you're doing to realize I can do this. And maybe that's part of the line too, where that maybe gave Luke that little bit of confidence to be like, I've unlearned everything you've just learned me, and I'm going to go save my friends now. And there is no try, there's only do. So maybe Luke took those lines a little too close to heart too quickly, but I don't know why I clocked it this time, but I'm like, that feels like a very important lesson to unlearn what you've learned in order to do the try not try. So
That occurs a lot in training, like when you have to train for something new. Like if you're going to, like when I joined the military, there are a lot of people that had to go, we're all going to the rifle range. But one of the things that the drill instructor or the drill sergeant would say is that if you think you know how to shoot a weapon, just forget everything you know. It's like,
yeah.
And that's the same thing as unlearn what you have learned about shooting weapons, because it's like what we're going to teach is going to supersede everything that you think you know about shooting a weapon. So anytime like you're learning a new skill, you thought you were doing that skill correctly, and then you realize that you were doing it wrong all along. That you weren't doing it the most efficient way or the most proficient way, or the way you learned it kind of keeps you from advancing in the excellence in that skill. So yes. A lot of things have that connotation. Mm-hmm. What's another one of your favorite parts?
Oh, let's see. God, let me go through my notes real quick. So, God, I mean, I don't know. This movie, okay. Here's one. I love that the simple tripwire for the walkers is what, versus all this technology, the lasers, the phasers, all of that stuff. I love it. And I love the simplicity of it. I love how perhaps a wee bit of foreshadowing with the Ewoks, and then with their help taking out the Empire via very simple, basic levers, pulleys, nets. Like you could have all this technology at your literal fingertips, but it ain't going to do shit. And sometimes you just got to like make some booby traps and, go a little Scooby-Doo on some shit to get things done. And I really I really, really appreciated that for this last watch that for watching it last night. And I was like, I really like it. And then of course I had to think about the MCU and Tom Holland and Civil War. Like, oh, you remember that really old movie? Like, oh no. And then I felt the old. I did the rapid aging like in Indiana Jones. I was like, oh, I'm so old.
Right. That's absolutely correct. That's one of my favorite battles in Star Wars. The Hoth battle is incredible. It was like you knew where everybody was at. You knew what the stakes were. You had the rebels fighting against this overwhelming force, and the walkers were absolutely fantastic. And then, like, the special effects was phenomenal. they use the stop motion technique. But when you're dealing with like mechanical things, the stop motion actually enhances the motion. Like if you can see the stop motion, it's like your mind excuses it. Like, well, it's mechanical, so of course it's moving in that fashion.
Mm-hmm.
So it looked fantastic. And also like the thing with the I remember playing, I think it's called Rebel something. It's a video game where you're rogue something. I can't remember. Anyways, you're playing an X-wing pilot or a pilot of all of these fighter vehicles, and it was an old like Nintendo GameCube game. So one of the first levels is that you're playing one of the pilots. You're piloting a snow speeder, and your task is to tie up and knock down as many of the AT-ATs as you can, right? So you spend a lot of time in the game going towards the AT-AT, firing off your harpoon cable, and then swinging around the AT-AT, which is pretty hard because you're controlling the camera and the snow speeder at the same time to fly around the AT-AT. You detach the table, they trip up and explode. It's weird that the AT-AT's armor was so strong that they couldn't penetrate the armor when the AT-ATs were walking. But as soon as they tripped up over the wire, all of a sudden the armor isn't worth jack. But we're going to smooth over that. We're not going to pay attention to that. It's a little inconsistency, but we don't care about these inconsistencies. Maybe it blew up for some other reason.
Yeah. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
You don't need to go too deep with it. It's,
right.
It's
let's
fun.
Not, let's not over-examine it. But I loved that fight scene. You felt like imperiled, especially like when Luke gets shot down, or like when something blows up on his gunner's panel and then he's taken and the gunner's taken out. So yeah, it's just a great sequence to draw you into the movie.
I absolutely agree. And I was thinking about it too after Luke's gunner is shot and everything. Like this is war. This is fighting for freedom and everything, because like he's still flying around with a dead guy right behind him. And I get it. Like you can't just like turn around and be like, "Oh no, John is not with us anymore. I got to go drop." Like you got things to do. There's a plan in motion. I get it. But it's like that's so it just felt really dark for a moment. I don't know why. It's not the first time someone has died, co-piloting a plane or anything like that in a movie. But for some reason, maybe it's just because knowing that the stakes are so high for the rebels and everything, that there's no just like pause. Okay, unpause. You got to keep going. And you love that. That's one thing I love about the rebels is how unstoppable they are in that sense, right? They are just fully committed and driven. And I can't help but respect that. But, rest in peace, gunner number, whichever. So.
Right. Is his name Hobby? I can't remember. Anyways, moving right along. I had also a question, not necessarily a favorite part, but my question is, do Wampas prefer human flesh over Tauntauns? Because there's a scene in the movie where Luke is on his Tauntaun, is kind of wandering around. He gets ambushed by a Wampa. The Wampa chokes out and kills the Tauntaun and then grabs Luke. Like there's a perfectly good dead animal right there. And you look like you're strong enough to drag both of them, but you choose Luke Skywalker in particular to drag back to your nest, to hang upside down, to eat later. So that's the question I have. What are your thoughts?
Maybe humans are more of a delicacy. Maybe the Wampa's just like, you know what? I've had this before. It's fine. It'll do in a pinch. But like, ooh, people.
Absolutely. Also,
that's the only guess I've got. Yeah.
Right. Also, one of my favorite things about the movie is just how beautifully shot this movie is. Even back when I first saw it, I was just charmed by how beautiful the pictures were, how the colors seemed to pop, and how crisp the images were. It just looks like, especially when I saw it back then, it looks like a new movie. And I didn't like know the terms. Like I didn't know like the cinematographer was in charge of that type of thing, or the director of photography had a lot of input on what the images look like by the time we're looking at it in the theater. So that is one of my favorite parts. Just when I'm looking at it, especially the opening scenes, it kind of shocks you of how beautiful the images are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I agree. It's really gorgeous. And especially when we get to the Cloud City and everything, just the colors, they're just so pretty. And it's just very like ethereal, almost a little magical. But yeah, I agree. I think it's the cinematography in this one is fantastic. And really, like all the Star Wars has great cinematography and images. Like, how many people have Star Wars wallpaper desktops or phones, because they're not only because they're iconic and because of the detail and maybe even just like the emotions that can elicit from seeing it, childhood memories, or just being like, that is just a badass shot. So good call on that.
Yeah. What's another one of your favorite things?
Let's see. Well, okay, so I have to say, out of all the Star Wars, okay, when it comes to like the droids, yes, we all know R2 is just a badass, plain and simple. The only one that might come close possibly could be Chopper from Rebels, but we won't go there. That's for another time. But I will say that I will forever love C-3PO's neurotic, anxious, panicky, naysaying caucasity of a white woman just wrapped in a metal body forever. He's such a little shit, but I love him so much. He's been taken apart and Chewie's trying to put him back together and rescue him, and he still just talks shit the entire time.
Right. He's indignant. Right.
Yes. So C-3PO will always be like a highlight. Anytime he pops up in any Star Wars anything, I'm just like, yes, we're going to get some passive aggression, little snark, little smart mouth, and I can't help it, but I love it to pieces. So anything C-3PO related.
Right. And the other thing about 3PO is that he does not see himself subservient to Chewbacca.
No.
Like, he yells at Chewbacca the most, even though Chewbacca is the one that's putting them back together. He gets mad because Chewbacca puts his head on backwards, and then he gets mad when Chewbacca's bumping his head against the against the Falcon when they're trying to do the rescue. Although I can understand that, because that is your head, and if he has pain circuitry, you do kind of get tired of getting your head bumped when you're trying to. When you're in the middle of running for your life. But yeah, he also doesn't see, he sees himself as superior to R2-D2, even though he knows that he can't really survive with R2-D2.
No.
But I love their relationship. And I also love that the conversation, even though you don't know what R2 is saying. You know exactly, well, you don't understand what the beeps mean, but you know exactly what he's saying when he's talking to R2, when he's talking to C-3PO. I love the fact that you know what the conversation is, even though you can't hear or you can't understand half of the conversation. I thought that's beautifully done. It's beautifully written. One of my favorite little jokes that they had in the movie was when they're still on Hoth and before the attack, and 3PO is having this conversation with R2, and he's like, all I did was say that I thought that it was absolutely cold in here. I didn't tell you to turn up the temperature. I don't know how we're going to dry her clothes off. And the whole time R2 is beeping back. And so you know what the conversation is. And I think that's awesome the way they did that.
I agree. It almost makes it feel like we understand completely. Like, all of a sudden I speak droid, and all of a sudden I can also understand Wookiee, because they do the same thing, right, with Chewbacca and Han. And
right.
Quick question. Is it Han pronounced more like H-A-H-N or Han, H-A-N? Because in the movie they say Han a couple of times, but is it just me? Am I pronouncing? Is it Han, or is it does it matter?
I don't think it matters that much.
Okay.
It's definitely a thing where characters will pronounce his name both ways. So I think like Princess Leia will more likely say Han, and then Luke Skywalker will most likely say hand, like like your hand. So
Yeah.
you definitely hear it both ways. I probably waffle in the pronunciation whenever I'm speaking about the character. The thing that I don't like is that in the Han Solo movie, a Star Wars story, where he chose his own name instead of it being a family name, because I thought it was an awesome family name. I thought it would have been great if his name was actually Han Solo instead of him making up the name on the fly, and I was upset about that.
Yeah. Although choosing his own name like that definitely feels like a Han Solo kind of move. So
feels like a Han Solo kind of move.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also,
I was just curious because I was like, how do I think I just always say it Han, but now I'm probably going to go back and forth like caramel and caramel and Caribbean and Caribbean.
Right.
So it's going to be one of those things now. Great. Yay me.
As long as people know what you're talking about, it's perfectly fine.
Fair enough.
Communication is about conveying ideas, not having perfect pronunciation. Also, pronunciation has to do with your accent too. So Luke may have I would say that the actors Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher definitely have different accent. And Carrie Fisher has almost an English accent, because you notice that she code switches in both movies, where she switches from her English accent or English tilt and an American accent that's almost sounds like she's from New York or some northeastern city.
Yeah. Maybe, do you think it could be a little bit of that transatlantic accent that was very prevalent back in the day? Could it be a touch of that, perhaps?
Well, she was acting in England. So she was doing some acting training in England. And so that's why she spoke like that when she was in Star Wars. You don't hear it as much in the Empire, but in the first movie, it's very obvious. when she's talking to like Darth Vader, it's more of that English tilt. And then when she's talking to like Han Solo and she's being rescued, it's almost the Bronx.
Got it. Okay. All right. I didn't know that about her. That's cool.
Also, one of my favorite parts where you probably have to fact check me, but I'm 90% sure that that's true.
I trust you.
Also, one of my favorite parts is I like all of the battles in this film. And it's funny, right? Because it's different in that there's no big climactic space battle at the end. That makes this a little bit different from pretty much most other Star Wars movies. But one of my favorite, it's not even really a battle. It's more like a chase. So when the Imperials are pursuing the Falcon, as the Falcon is escaping from Hoth, or the Hoth system, but the hyperdrive isn't working, so they have to go to the asteroid belt. One of the things I want to say is that scientists are always saying that no, asteroid belts don't look like that. They're actually way far. The asteroids are, further sparsed apart than you see in Star Wars. And to that I say, well, you haven't seen every asteroid belt in every solar system in the universe. I am certain that in a couple of solar systems, you haven't even seen all of the asteroid belts in this galaxy or in the local star group. And I'm pretty sure that somewhere in the universe, there is a solar system where they have a tight asteroid belt. I'm pretty sure that's a thing that could happen. So in this case, the Hoth system just so happens to have an incredibly crowded asteroid belt. Maybe not a belt so much as like a ring around that star. Like the Saturn has rings that are made. The Saturn rings are made up a bunch of icy chunks of rock. So the Hoth asteroid belt could be similar in that nature. They're certainly tight enough to look like a ring from far away. And so that's my rant about that. But here's a little bit of trivia too about that scene. I saw an outtake. It was when C-3PO was talking about the chances of escaping an asteroid field. And that's 3,727 to 1. And then to that, in the original version, in the theatrical version, Han says, never tell me the odds. But in this outtake, he says, I'm the one. And I thought that was better. I kind of wish they used that one. So Threefield says the chances of successfully navigating an asteroid field is 327,000 to 1. And Han says, I'm the one.
Ooh, honestly, that just kind of gave me chills. I love it. That's so badass.
Yes, it is. I wish they had used that one.
And honestly, I think either line works with the character of Han because, yeah, you know, the never tell me the odds, a little snarky, little sarcasm, little kind of just kind of snapping back at him at C-3PO is very Han.
Right.
But I think also that cockiness, even though, you know, he's told Luke, don't get cocky, kid. Like that, I feel like is also very Han coded as well. I think both would have worked. I think obviously the I am the one, it's too badass. And again, I am just getting chills. I love it. Oh,
right.
But both work. I accept both. But man, that would have been cool. I think that would have really just, especially for like when the movie first came out, if that was his line, just how maybe they're worried that line would have made Han too cool and too popular character wise, branding wise, merchandising wise.
Right. Han, this is definitely more of Han's movie than it was. Like this movie actually was more of an ensemble movie, but Han Solo was really more of a highlight in this movie than he was in the previous movie. And it's almost like Luke's role was diminished just a little bit because he wasn't with the main group. I think he was kind of off with Yoda, so diminished just a little bit. But it's amazing because I felt like Harrison Ford really carried this movie with the snarkiness of Han Solo. It really, really works, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Absolutely. And, you know, I hadn't really thought about it until you just mentioned it, but this really is kind of more Han's movie than it is, say, Luke's movie, you know, in terms of like the full Skywalker saga. But I love that for him. I love that we got that much more Han. I love that we see a softer side of him as well, along with all kind of like the snark and the sarcasm that we've come to know and love. But I felt like I feel like now, yeah, like we really do kind of see Han grow more, like right away from the beginning. Like he's been there, he's been helping versus, you know, in A New Hope, at one point he's just like, I'm done and I'm out. He comes back and he helps and yada, yada. And that's all great, grand and wonderful. But he still stuck around after that. You know, he didn't leave after getting his medal and everything. So he still cared enough. So we see a bit of that growth in Han and fighting like for the cause and maybe more for and with his friends than the cause perhaps at this point. But I really like that. I like that this movie could be a little bit more Han's movie than Luke. Ooh, now I love it even more.
Also, I would point out that, or at least it's my summation, that Han has a stronger character arc in both A New Hope and Empire. In A New Hope, he goes from being a scoundrel to being somebody who helps people, even though they try to ruin it in the special editions where, like, I like the original version where Han is the type of person that shoots first. Even in Empire, Han is a person who shoots first without hesitation. Like one of the best scenes in the movie is when they're portrayed by Lando. He says, I have made a deal that would keep the Empire out of the city forever. And he opens up the doors and there's Darth Vader at the end of a dinner table. The whole room is white and there's a black figure just stands up. And then Boba Fett comes and stands beside him. And Han he takes a double take and just barely after he does the double take, raises his weapon and starts firing at Darth Vader, like without hesitation. It's like not even really thinking about what he's doing. And that's what I love about the character. And you notice that they didn't do the thing where, well, maybe he was shot at first. Like, no, you don't allow the bad guy to shoot at you first. You shoot first. And naturally didn't work. But I remember being so shocked when that happened. It's like if a little kid could have a heart attack when you see Darth Vader at the end of the dinner table, that's when it happens. Because it's like, it's Lando. We're friends. Like, we don't trust him all that much, but we're friends. You know, we're helping. It's like, and I think what was so shocking is that because the trick that Han Solo did when he hit the Millennium Falcon on the giant spaceship, the Star Destroyer,
Mm-hmm.
and they couldn't find him, and then he escaped, and I totally missed that Boba Fett was chasing him. Like, I think the very first time I saw the movie in theaters, I totally missed that, and only caught it on subsequent viewings. So yeah, that's the character we want. And then at the end of the movie, he almost dies. So it's like he has great character arcs in these movies.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I will always say that, with Lando, so I was very upset with Lando for many, many years. Rewatching it recently, I'm like, okay, I get it. I do. He didn't have a choice. And then he does spend the rest of the movie doing what he can to help his friends that don't trust him. And so I was always very disappointed in Lando. Oh no, I forgot where I was going with this. But I get it. So I'm not as mad at Lando about everything that he had to do, because I appreciate him going around and going down into the brig and trying to give as much information as he's able to and try to help them escape and everything. But because of Lando doing what he had to do is what, gets everybody captured. And I was always, even last night watching it, still waiting for some Star Warsy miracle where Han does not get frozen in carbonite, because I can tell you, watching that as a young child, I'm just waiting, right? You can't have your heroes frozen and, their life at risk. You're just like, and so when it happens, it's still devastating.
Right. Especially with so much emotion at stake. The emotion between Han and the Wookiee, the emotion between Han and Princess Leia. They finally are able to admit that they love each other, or at least Leia does. But it's like it's almost like it's too late, right? So that was a pretty awesome scene, and that's why it works, because it's devastating, and the actors have an outstanding performance, having their connections to each other, and then the cold, matter-of-fact manner in which Darth Vader, he's like testing his machine. He's not even doing it to punish Han Solo. He's just doing it just to make sure it won't kill the person he's actually after.
Yep. He doesn't care if Han lives or dies, and whatever. If he dies, then they'll pay Boba Fett. It'll be fine. Boba will be fine.
Right.
He's cold-hearted. Oh my God. I love
the
it.
Empire will compensate you if he dies. Put him in. Yeah, Darth Vader is just lovely in this movie. He has this dry wit. Really, and my favorite thing that he says is, "Apology accepted, Captain Nita."
We were talking about that last night. I was just like, how could you, we were talking about if you worked for the Empire or, worked for Darth Vader, because our 11-year-old's like, who would you rather work for? Kylo Ren or Darth Vader? And my husband's like, well, Darth Vader, he's the OG badass. And, Kylo Ren is just trying to do what he can to impress his dead grandpa and everything. Oops, spoilers. But I was like, yes, I would choose Vader over Kylo in that sense. But at the same time, I would be so stressed out to that's my boss. One minor screw up and that is it for you. So I was like, I could not be of anyone importance, no general, nor admiral. I would be a stormtrooper. Put me down on the ground, low risk, no reward.
Right, absolutely.
My husband's
the only thing you got to worry about is other people shooting at you. I wouldn't want to be somebody who had to directly communicate with Darth Vader, because if something goes wrong, he's going to blame you, and that you could be demoted instantly.
Instantly. I'm surprised he didn't just choke out that entire room of people when the Millennium Falcon did finally take off.
Right.
Because it was right there, and then now it's not, and everyone looked so scared and so nervous, and I'm like, I can't work with that kind of pressure.
Right.
That's
absolutely correct. I agree wholeheartedly.
Actually, a little disappointed that he didn't kill that entire room. He was just was kind of
I think the difference is that I think I would rather work for Darth Vader, and that is because at the very least he's calm, cool, and collected. Like he's not going to lose his shit and just start swinging his lightsaber at everybody. He's very methodical and in control, and he's not like insane like Kylo Ren's seem mentally unstable. He's not going to throw. Darth Vader's not going to throw a temper tantrum, right? He's going to joke when he chokes you out. So that is. If I had a choice, it would definitely be, because if you notice that there was a point where very early in the movie, one of the technicians on the Star Destroyer had noticed that the probe had found something on this distant world called Hoth. He said, we found something, we found a generator, like maybe they're rebels. And the Admiral's like, no, it's thousands of like settlements that we don't know about. We're not going to check every single lead. And Darth Vader comes along and he talks to the technicians like, what have you found? And the technician talks directly to Vader saying, well, we found this thing over here. And Vader was like, that's it. And the Admiral's like, it's so many unsettled. It's like, no, we're going there. We're going to the Hoth system. And then after that exchange, the Admiral gives the technician such a mean mug, like just a nasty look. It's like, you made me look bad. It's like the technician did not make the Admiral look bad. The technician just reported what he found. He brought it to the Admiral's attention. The Admiral was being a dick. And then Darth Vader came. Now, he didn't want to talk to Darth Vader. And he know he's not going to get choked out if he talks to Darth Vader. Because he's just a lowly technician. All he's doing is looking at this information from this probe and reporting what he saw. That's all he's doing. That's his whole job. And then, he just... If the Admiral had taken that information directly to Vader instead of being a dick about it, then he would have been fine. He wouldn't have lost face in front of Darth Vader. But because he wanted to be like a know-it-all, he got Darth Vader showed up, and then he was made to look bad. But that was all on him. He shouldn't have been a dick to your subordinate. That's the theme of this movie. Don't be a dick to your subordinates.
That's right. And just think how much worse it would have been for that Admiral if Vader had found out the information that the tech had, but then the Admiral's like, no, we're not going to actually do that. It's going to be fine. Just withheld it,
right.
without the technician around or whatever. If Vader then found out that's what the Admiral did, I mean,
if
so much
Vader
worse.
found out, if Vader hadn't showed up at that time to find out what the tech found, and then he only found out after the fact that the tech had found it hours ago, and they're wasting time in space. But see, I think that was Admiral Ozzo. Admiral Ozzo got his anyway. He was the first officer that was choked out.
Yes. It's so hard to keep track of all the admirals and lieutenants and captains because the turnover rate is so high.
Yeah, it's so high. Another great Vader line is when he said, "You are in command now, Admiral Piet." Emphasis on the Admiral. Because previously he was a captain. Suddenly he's the Admiral of that entire local group of Star Destroyers.
The most terrifying promotion ever.
Yeah, absolutely. The dude dying. Your boss is dying right next to you, just being choked out from across thousands of miles, just being choked out in front of you.
That's the thing.
And suddenly you're in charge. That's not a great feeling. It's like, that's not how I wanted to get this job out.
But they all work for him. So they have to think the only way they can be promoted, right, is either really great intel or your boss dies. Your boss forks up and gets choked out. Now you get the promotion. There's no other ways of advancement.
I'm pretty sure that not every admiral gets choked out. I'm pretty sure sometimes a captain can rise to his admiralcy without his boss, or a similar situation where they get choked out. I'm confident in believing that.
maybe no.
Right. Maybe.
But
Maybe.
still, just the stress of that kind of boss. Ooh, no, thank you.
Right.
I've worked
Absolutely.
I've worked for the state. I know what that can be like, so I'm done doing that.
Right. Right. So I want to talk about one last part that you enjoyed.
Mhm. Oh man. Okay. I'm trying to think. I don't I think I've got pretty much was able to bring up pretty much everything. I love that this movie is so truly action packed. We get a great action sequence in the beginning. Even Luke's kind of training, getting to Dagobah and everything. Like that might be seen as like one of the slower parts of the movie, but I still found it very interesting and very cool because one, yes, we're first introduced to this little green menace who turns out to be a total badass. But then Luke goes down into like that dark tunnel area or whatever and has that vision of fighting Vader and everything. Like there's still a lot going on there. And I really appreciate it. Like you said at the beginning, this movie is paced so well. And I couldn't agree more because with all the action parts, the expositions, the cinematography, everything just works and flows wonderfully in this. And I love that. And I just appreciate it so much. So I love that. Yes, in the first one, it sets everything up just like the first installment would. We introduce the characters, what the problem is, what the solution has to be, all of these, and then the sequel comes in and gives us a lot of the action, character growth. It's such a well done sequel. Like I said, it's like one of the best sequels to have sequeled, and I that's what I got. Just my favorite part is the whole movie.
Well, I had one more favorite part that I wanted to go over, and that was the reveal that Darth Vader was Luke Skywalker's father. And actually, the whole lightsaber battle, it was actually much improved over the original lightsaber battle. Now we get some. It looks real, and well, not real. What's the one? I guess it's more. It feels more organic. I guess the lightsaber fight. There seemed to be a lot of swinging just to touch lightsabers, so that is something I noticed. But I only notice it because of how. I've seen some YouTube videos where people were critiquing lightsaber fights. Like the object of sword fighting is to cut the person that you're fighting with. And what they're doing is that they're blocking your attempts to cut them. And then you try to cut them back. Right. But a lot of times in some of the lightsaber fights, it seems like they're just swinging their lightsabers just to hit the other person's lightsaber and not necessarily trying to kill the person that you are fighting. And I see some of that in this lightsaber duel, but at the same time, still, it was incredibly enjoyable. And so there were some moments where it looked like that, and then there are some moments where it looked like Vader was trying to kill Luke Skywalker. So that was fantastic. And then he gets Luke. He basically literally disarms Luke, or I should say dishands Luke.
Yep.
And that's when he said, Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father. I am your father. And then that feeling that I had when I first watched this for the first time, I can still feel that feeling. I still call back to when I was a wee child and I saw that and just being totally shocked that Darth Vader was Luke Skywalker's father. It's one of the greatest twists and reveal in cinema history. Also feels like an accident. Also feels like they're kind of is that it was not the direction that the original story was going. But I think that George Lucas saw a great opportunity to introduce a crazy twist. He was going to have to fix what Ben Kenobi had said in the first movie. Like, if this was going to be the story all along, then I think there would have been clues in the first movie. And I don't think Ben Kenobi would have said what he said the way he said it. And then he had to fix it in Return of the Jedi. It would have been something more clever or more mysterious the way that Obi-Wan revealed what happened to Darth Vader or what happened with Anakin Skywalker. But even with all that in consideration, it was still phenomenal. And I liked all the like behind the scenes about how that scene came about how nobody knew it. None of the actors knew it until like the very last minute, and where they had to tell Mark Hamill, and then they had to tell James Earl Jones, but they didn't tell David Prowse, who was like, in the suit. Like, he didn't know. I think the line he was fed was, Obi-Wan was your father. And the line that James Earl Jones was given at the very last minute was, I am your father. Right. And so, and I think I saw an interview with James Earl Jones. He said his thoughts was, oh, this guy's lying. And it felt like a lie. Like, I wanted it to be a lie. And then actually, in order to hammer the point home, they're communicating with the Force after Luke escapes. And it's almost like Luke accepts Vader as his father because he calls him that. And when Vader says, search your feelings, Luke. So it's like the Force itself is the ultimate arbiter of truth, where you can seek out what a true thing is just by using the Force. So that kind of solidified it for me at like when I left the theaters, but it was shocking. It's the thing for conversation from the date that movie came out all the way until Return of the Jedi.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I will say that with the thing that I loved about like the lightsaber battle between Luke and Vader was that there's no score. And so it's just the fight sounds, it's the lightsabers. I mean, there might be a little bit, but kind of here and there, but there was a lot that it was just like, there's no dramatic fight scene music going on during the entire duration of the fight scene. And I like that because it just feels like that much more like intimate, I guess, in a sense, especially upon rewatching and knowing what that twist is.
Yeah.
It seems to make a lot of sense there. And then, and I like that, because you had mentioned how Obi-Wan addressed the whole like, oh, Vader killed your father and everything. And I agree that with the original trilogy, it's kind of like, what are we doing here? But I like how they kind of cleaned that up in the Obi-Wan series with Obi-Wan's final kind of showdown with Anakin / Darth, and he finally acknowledges Anakin as Darth and has separated those two beings as being completely one of their own. So keeping that in mind with watching this and everything in the original trilogy, it works. And I'm glad that they kept enough thought to work that into the Obi-Wan series and everything, because I do think that helps explain it it helps me a lot, because otherwise you're just like, dude, that's a whole big chunk of information, Obi-Wan, you could have shared that could have helped. But maybe it was one of those, like, you have to experience it. You can't just be told it, I don't know. But
Also, you don't want to tell somebody that you're trying to recruit that, oh yeah, your dad is the evil Empire's puppet, or he's like the main bad guy in this adventure. So you might have to kill your biological father. It's like, so I can see the reason that, Obi-Wan would offer a bit of subterfuge. I think the problem is that they set up the Jedi as like the goody two shoes. Like, you would think that they're people that would never lie and be slow to violence, and they're the peacekeepers of the universe. And at the same time, they can be devious. They can be liars. They do kill people. So it's like it's something that you have to come to grip with. And I think the Obi-Wan series was made for that confrontation between Obi-Wan and Vader. It's like they wanted to write a confrontation, and I think they wrote the series around it. I'm only sorry that they used Princess Leia, because it doesn't seem right to me that she's such a big part of the series. But if you ignore the kind of the disturbances in the continuity, if you ignore that, then it's a pretty good series. And I really like that confrontation between Obi-Wan and Vader.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now that we've talked about some of our favorite parts, let's go on and talk about the top 10 trivia. These are
Oh.
the top. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
These are the top 10 trivia that I was able to find on IMDb. And it seems like you're about to start.
I got a little excited. I was like, oh, it's
No,
my
you're
turn to read
fine. You're
now.
fine. It's awesome. I'm glad you're excited. I'm excited you're excited.
All right. So the first one we have is, in order to avoid sharing creative rights, George Lucas decided to avoid using a major studio to finance this movie. Instead, he bankrolled the $30 million production himself, using a combination of his profits from Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope from 1977 and a bank loan. Although the move was risky, it paid off several times over. Lucas recovered his investment within 3 months of the movie's release. He then showed gratitude far beyond the Hollywood norm by sharing the profits with his employees, nearly $5 million in bonuses. Damn.
Yes, that's how you do it.
That's how you do it.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate a boss that's not overly greedy.
Yes.
The shots where Luke uses his Jedi powers to retrieve his lightsaber from a distance were achieved by having Mark Hamill throw the lightsaber away and then running the film in reverse. It never occurred to me that that's how they did it. I'm thinking that they used strings or some other weird kind of special effects, but no, they just ran it backwards. Just the simplest special effects that you could probably use.
And I always love that. I always love when you read that's the trick that was used in, using the Force or any other movie where something like that is happening. It's just done in reverse. It's like you said, it's so simple and it's so effective. All right. George Lucas was so impressed by Frank Oz's performance as Yoda that he spent thousands of dollars on an advertising campaign to try and get him an Oscar nomination for Best Actor in a supporting role. Lucas's campaign ultimately failed because it was felt that a puppeteer wasn't an actor. Lucas felt this wasn't fair to Oz, who honestly didn't care.
I thought that was funny.
I'm with George Lucas on this one.
Right. And they don't have like separate Oscars for voice actor. Like if they did do that, if they had something for voice actor, then that would seem fair to me. Otherwise, if they don't, then they should include voice actors as physical actors. It seems right. Puppeteers as the way they manipulate. Sometimes they're in costume and sometimes they're not, but it's still acting. So exactly. I think they should be in the competition. But on the flip side, I would be pretty peeved if I were like a physical actor in a film that was pretty good and I was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor and I was beaten by a puppet. I would not feel right about that.
That's a fair point.
So during the filming of the Battle of Hoth, the Echo Base troops were actually Norwegian mountain rescue skiers. In exchange for participation in this movie, Lucasfilm made a donation to the Norwegian Red Cross. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yes, I love that. Good on you, George. Mark Hamill had to bang his head 16 times on the ceiling of Yoda's hut before director Irvin Kershner was satisfied with the scene. When Mark Hamill was having trouble with the Dagobah scenes with Yoda, Frank Oz brought in Miss Piggy and Kermit the Frog to make him laugh. Yes, cameos!
He was probably getting frustrated with some of those scenes. I'm pretty sure that that's not the only scene that he had issues with. He probably had issues with maybe the cave sequence or the training sequence. There was a lot of that going on. Interesting about the whole Dagobah sequence is that it's supposed to be taking place at the same time as Han and Leia are escaping from the Empire in the asteroid field. And so that's a little confusing. So how long, because you figure that training to use the Force, that's maybe a couple of weeks. So does that mean that Han and Leia were escaping from the Empire for a couple of weeks in the asteroid field? I don't know. It's kind
of honestly, I was kind of wondering that this last watch. I was like, how long has Luke been with Yoda, and how long are they just hanging out inside an asteroid creature guts thing? I was like,
right.
Maybe I can't even think of a good
right. They're a little bit squishy on the time. I feel like they're going back and forth in time. I think that the time that they spent escaping from the Empire, maybe a day, and then they escape to Hoth, and maybe they're in Hoth for a few weeks, and there is that they didn't have a lot of story to tell on Hoth, so they're going. It's like when they're by the time like Han and Leia are on Hoth, that's like the future, and then when Luke is training, they go back to the past, and then Luke his timeline catches up with Han and Leia by the time Han and Leia meet Darth Vader. That's my headcanon. It's not real.
Timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly, it's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's not something you think about until like decades after you've watched the movie.
Yep.
So when shooting on location, and I did not pronounce the pronunciation of the city, so I apologize. Findsea, Norway. A fierce snowstorm hit the hotel where the cast and crew were staying. This would have normally halted filming, but director Irvin Kershner thought these weather conditions were an excellent opportunity to film the scene where Luke wanders through the snow after escaping the Wampa cave. He did this by sending Mark Hamill outside into the cold while he and the cameraman stayed and filmed inside the hotel front hall. With the exception of being sucked out of a Cloud City window, Mark Hamill did all of his own stunts. So he was like, you go out there in that weather. I know it's cold, but I need to film these shots out here. You go out, climb on that hill. Do that. I want you to fall down a couple of times. Make sure that your naked face hits the snow. No, we're not going to do this in studio. It's a perfectly good snowstorm. Like, you got the wind blowing. We could save money. Come on, do it for the team. That's for anybody out there who thinks acting is easy.
Right. Yeah, I was just going to say, acting is so easy. That is pretty impressive, though, that Mark Hamill did almost all of his own stunts. And I got to say, like, you can see it in his arms when he's doing his handstands and everything in Dagobah. Like, Luke comes back pretty jacked in this one. And
yeah.
It shows.
He's in pretty good shape.
Good on you. Yeah. To preserve the dramatic opening of the Star Wars movies, George Lucas insisted on moving all the credits to the end of the movie. However, although the Writers Guild and Directors Guild had begrudgingly allowed this on Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope, because that movie wasn't expected to be very successful, they resented the trend being continued on in this movie. First, they tried to pull this movie from release, but was unsuccessful. They then fined Lucas heavily and tried to fine Irvin Kershner, but Lucas paid all the fines himself, nearly $250,000. Lucas then bitterly dropped his membership with the Writers Guild, Directors Guild, and the Motion Picture Association of America, a move that has hindered his hiring choices on later movies.
Yeah, that would show that would, considering that this happened, it would seem that that's why he hasn't directed more films. And it would seem that that's sometimes why it took so long between sequels. So, and he's not the only filmmaker that got frustrated with the Writers Guild and the Directors Guild and dropped his membership. But that does hinder your freedom to make films. But yeah, that was, that's crazy.
That's quite the move.
It's crazy. It's a crazy demand. I mean, we don't have that issue now, and now they're not as finicky on when the credits appear. There are a lot of movies where they barely show the title sometimes, and all of the credits are the end credits. So it's not, I would say, as much an issue, but that was a big deal back then.
Mm-hmm.
Carrie Fisher stood on a box for many of her scenes with Harrison Ford in order to make up for the height difference, and have her appear in the frame with him. Carrie Fisher was 5'1", was almost a foot shorter than Harrison Ford at 6 feet. So yeah, she was a shorty. She was a short lady, and I didn't realize how short she was. Because, like, when you're watching the movies, you just think that everybody is taller than you, and in real life, she was super short.
Yeah, she's a little petite. This is so cute.
Yeah.
Let's see. Excuse me. Harrison Ford wanted Han Solo to die at the end of this movie, and he did not want to play the character again. But instead of killing off the character, George Lucas had a different idea and opted for Han to be frozen in carbonite, in case Ford had a change of heart and agreed to return for Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, 1983. The character would then be revived. That's good planning.
Yeah, pretty much what happened. It's similar to what they did with Mr. Spock in Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan, where Leonard Nimoy, it's like he almost didn't come back for Star Trek The Motion Picture, and then he changed his mind, and then he decided that he wanted his character to die in Star Trek 2. And so he died in Star Trek 2, but then they had an out. They had filmed a sequence where he had did a mind well with Dr. McCoy, and then that's what they used to bring him back in that movie in Star Trek 3. And I think they also made a deal where he gets to direct a couple of Star Trek movies if he agreed to come back, and that's exactly how it worked out. Nice. So with Harrison Ford, this is the second time. This is the first time he asked to be killed off, and then the second time, it was, I don't know if he asked to be killed off in the sequel movies, but he did finally get killed. He finally got his wish, but then they brought him back anyway in the last Star Wars sequel. So there's a lot of that going on. The last bit of trivia we have is when I'm sorry, I'm reading it all wrong. When Han Solo is about to be frozen, Princess Leia says, "I love you." In the original script, Han Solo was supposed to say, "Just remember that, Leia, because I'll be back." But at the time of filming, Harrison Ford wasn't entirely certain if he did want to come back for a third movie. There is a reoccurring legend that his line, "I know," was ad-libbed. However, in Alan Arnold's book, Once Upon a Galaxy, a journal of the making of The Empire Strikes Back, includes a transcript of the discussion between Ford and director Irvin Kershner, in which Ford suggested the line. So not that he made it up on set, it's still his line, but he didn't ad-lib it at the time. Apparently he and Kershner got together and decided that that would be the line. And anyway, one of the greatest lines in all of cinema.
I absolutely agree. I love it. Because anything else he could have said, whether it was the original line or just like, "I love you too," would have been like, "Oh, that's so sweet." It wouldn't have been as cool and like as impactful, I think, as just the simple, "I know."
Right. It's more like, "I knew all along, I was just trying to get you to admit it." Because he's doing that
You said it
since
first.
the beginning of the film. Like, he actually confronts her when they're on Hoth, and he says, "You don't want me to go because of the way you feel about me. Come on." He just wants her to say it. And and then when they get all smoochy in the Millennium Falcon, when they're in space in the creature's guts, like, and he's trying to get her to admit it. And then she finally says it. So it's like a victory for him. That's why he says, "I know," because it's not only is he's trying to be a badass, but now he's trying to say, "See, I was right."
But it's like, his tone isn't all like, "Haha, I knew all along." You know what I mean? Like,
right. That's not his tone.
Have said like, right. And so his tone, but like the words, but with his tone kind of puts all of that together of like, "Yeah, I knew all along. Haha, but I get it." And I feel like there's a sincerity to it as well. And I think it just works on a lot of levels. And it's the simplicity of it and the beauty of it and the badassery of it are all just mixed wonderfully in there.
Right. Also his inability to admit what he was trying to get her to admit.
Yep.
I think also it's kind of he wants to, because it's like she's attracted to like scoundrels. So he's being the scoundrel that she's attracted to. Right?
Oh, totally.
So that's it for the trivia. And now we're going to talk about what the critics thought. The critics have this at 93%, and the audience / popcorn meter, which I still haven't gotten used to, has it at 97% on Rotten Tomatoes. On IMDb reviews, it's at 8.7 out of 10. And what I noticed about this when I was doing research and trying to figure out, usually I just go to Rotten Tomatoes and I copy and paste some of the sound bites of what the critics have said. But I noticed a lot of the sound bites from the critics that gave it a fresh tomato, they're kind of like backhanded compliment. And I was like, what is the reason for this? I don't like this at all. It's like, it kind of hard. It was harder for me to find a positive comment that I wanted to copy and paste on this round for this movie than it was for a lot of my previous movies. Like, it's one thing to like have no positive comments. Like, there are some Rotten Tomato movies that I looked at that had like 15% fresh or 15% rotten, or however you say that. It's only at 15%, so there are not a lot of quotes that you can pull from that movie. But this one had a lot of quotes that I can pull. Most of them, like I said, were backhanded compliments. So that's wild. Anyway, start us off on what some of these people thought.
All right. Joseph Gelmus of Newsday compared to the recent competition. Empire is in a class by itself as space opera entertainment for kids of all ages. It's a handsome, slick, humorous, imaginative adventure epic. And then Donna Chernin of the Cleveland Plain Dealer. The Empire really doesn't end, but instead suspends itself in time. While this may be commercially shrewd from the standpoint of future chapters, it is personally frustrating to be left dangling. Sorry, just picturing Luke at the end of the movie. In fact, it also seems like a cheap trick.
Yeah, here's the thing. For the first comment, it's one of the first comments where I read, at least from a critic standpoint, where it's talking about Star Wars as a kid's movie. And the funny thing is that it took me a long time to come to terms with that, because I always thought of it as adult entertainment, but I watched it when I was a kid, which is why I'm so connected to it more so than more of the recent movies. And it's probably why I wasn't as, how should I say, I wasn't as impressed with like the prequel trilogy as I was with the original trilogy, because it's still movies for children. And so, and I guess the sequel trilogy kind of falls into that category as well. And then when it was brought to my attention, these are children movies. And it was like, that would explain a lot of my feelings for the newer movies that have come out, especially compared to the original movies. And I think a lot of the opinion is that a lot of the original fans who grew up with the 1977 movies, I think they feel like those movies are much better than the prequel series or the sequel series for that reason, because it's the nostalgia that tells us that these movies are better than the later movies. And it's like, I'm not going to feel, because it's like, if you talk to a lot of the people who grew up with the sequel trilogy, I mean, not the sequel, but the prequel trilogy, when they talk about the origins of Darth Vader, these are their favorite Star Wars movies. Like, these movies are far greater than any other versions of Star Wars. So that's something that I had to come to terms with. And in the second comment, it's like this person does not like cliffhangers or tragedies or something like that, or unfinished stories. Like, she had a problem with that, and I disagree.
I agree with your disagreement. They can call it a cheap trick. It gets, anytime anything is left on a cliffhanger, it gets called out because people's frustration levels, I get it. Like with The Walking Dead, and after introducing Negan and everything, we didn't get the payoff that the show seemed to be building towards, and it was left on a cliffhanger. So you didn't know who met Lucille until the season premiere. And I get the frustration. I would have loved to have some sort of conclusion to that as well. But again, it's not something new. It's something shows and movies and entertainment has done forever. Books have done that, with authors thinking they're going to write a full series. Like, they're not always going to end in a nice, neat, tidy, finished bow and everything. And it's just a part of storytelling, and you just need to get over yourself. You don't have to love it, but you just have to accept the fact that it is part of telling some stories, and then just accepting that and then zipping it.
Right. And sometimes life be like that.
Exactly. Exactly.
So the next couple of critics, we have Richard Lebonte from Ottawa Citizen. He wrote, like Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back is a movie that feels good, is a movie to feel good about. It comes as close to being a perfect film, a wondrous vision perfectly realized as any ever made. And I like that. It's kind of my overall feeling about this movie.
Yeah, I get behind that one.
And Nicholas Warpshot from the Times UK wrote, quite simply, Lucas has done it all before and better. Without his intelligence and the novelty of meeting the Star Wars menagerie for the first time, the film fails to involve and seldom charms. And I don't see how this person has said that or wrote that. I don't understand. What do you mean it doesn't charm? What do you mean the film fails to involve? What movie did you watch, or what type of movie is going to involve you? Again, this is a child movie, and you have an adult doing a review of a child's movie, and I don't think they're looking at it from that perspective. But also, this movie is incredibly charming. Like, Billy D. Williams is in the movie, and all he does is charm, right?
Truly.
I left that out of when I was talking about my favorite parts, is Billy D's frustration with Darth Vader. It's like, he's charming, and the next thing you know, Vader's changing the terms of the deal, and he's frustrated. This is a lovely entertainment. I don't understand what people are doing or saying.
And I wonder too if some of these critics went in the mindset that this is a kids movie, and it's like, yeah, kids can watch it and enjoy it, but the level of like the politics that these movies are orbit is very, like, kids aren't going to understand. Like, they're going to understand the basics, like Vader is bad, the Empire is bad, and everything, but I think there's just a lot more to it for the adults to enjoy. So these are truly just like family films. It's like anything that is made. Sure, maybe their main audience is to try to capture the kids' attention and fandom and everything, but they've got to add stuff in for the adults, because who's got to sit there with the kids however many times to watch it? So I think if they went in, I'm just going to assume that's what Nicholas did, because otherwise he and I need to have a conversation on what he wrote there. I just want to talk, Nicholas. You can't go into, as I would think, as a critic, as a reviewer, you can't go in to reviewing a movie as, oh, this is a kid's movie. You know what I mean? Because that's just going to already taint your perspective and your review of it. And I don't think you give it a fair enough shot. And that's truly what it feels like. Nicholas and like even Donna just kind of went in. It almost seems like they went in ready to poo-poo all over the movie. And they got to do that because they weren't ready to unlearn what they've learned. Boom.
Absolutely. Well put. Absolutely. And then when I say it's a children's film, I mean it in the vein of like a lot of like not Sleeping Beauty. That's a bad example. Like Beauty and the Beast or Aladdin. Like, those are children's films, but it's like, even like I first watched those as a fully formed adult, and those are some of my favorite movies of all time. So, even in that vein, Star Wars falls in the same vein. It's like, it's hard to say that somebody's going to go to Beauty and the Beast and say, oh no, I have to review a children's movie, because it's a great movie. So I think, I don't know. I don't know if I can't envision what's going on in people's mind. All I can do is confidently disagree with them.
Yes, I like that.
Finally, Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, is, as of this recording, available on Disney+. Join us next time when the saga concludes with Return of the Jedi. You can follow us on Blue Sky, Threads, TikTok, Instagram, and sometimes Twitter. Please contact us with any questions, comments, or suggestions at fanmail@backlickcinema.com. And please rate and review on your favorite podcast app. And if you're listening on YouTube, please like or subscribe or leave a comment or suggestion. I'd love to hear from you. And one last time, please listen to Jenn on My Streaming Bubble. And what was the other one that you have?
Twin It, the Twin It podcast, and that one is monthly. So yeah, you get a little bit of me every week, and then me once a month with someone else.
Awesome. So listen to us on our disparate podcasts and help us grow by spreading the word about our different shows. Believe me, it matters. I've been Zoe Richardson. Be safe. Share a movie from yesterday with your family. Hug your loved ones. And if you're going to be anything, be outstanding.